it's funny how this is so much about keeping up with the Joneses. Because when you go retire in India, let's say, and your son is working in New York, you want to be able to wear your New York T-shirts and your sweatshirts, and then other parents who have kids here in the U.S. will wear their Chicago T-shirts and University of Maryland T-shirts, so that they can say to one another where their sons and daughters are in the United States.
But I want to tell you, it's difficult to go back and live there. And I know a lot of retirees are out there. They want to go back, but they're so afraid. I want to tell you there are three things they're afraid of. One is that somehow the pollution is too much, and that affects them negatively on their health. For instance, folks, did you know that for 172 hours there was dense fog in Delhi airport? No plane could land.
I know. My parents were stuck in it for 3 days on the tarmac. The rule about not being able to sit on the tarmac for 5 hours or more didn't matter. They were there for 7, 8 hours.
So that's one thing. Number two is the freedom. Freedom to say anything. Up there, anybody can buy police. And that's so scary, And number three, if you have a problem, you find yourself going to court, well, then it's forever you go to court. So those are the 2 or 3 things. And, of course, the security and others is pretty good on these gated communities. But generally in the cities, there are plenty of people that can pick your pocket and,
it's survival.
rob you blind and all the rest, which is, of course, in every country,
But like most parents these days, what they're thinking of doing is actually spending their, 3 to 4 months here, best time of the year, and then spending the rest of the time in India, the 9 or 10 months that they want to spend there. So they're not really letting go of one and replacing with the other. They're just living a dual existence, 6 months here, 6 months there, 1 season here, rest of the year there.
The one thing that you said, to reconnect back home where they came from, but where they came from
has changed.
They cannot live there, and it has changed. So consequently, if you have to live among strangers, you much rather stay here among known friends. So that is also another reason.
The one good thing about the story that I thought it made a good point of is, in India it used to be that old age homes were considered a stigma of, you were abandoning your parents, you were just leaving them there because you didn't care. And now the new sentiment is that no, once you retire you go on to a different kind of existence, a luxury-filled existence, and that makes it okay.
That is if you have the money.
If you have the money.
Yes, no. Well, moving on, folks, the American unions are now taking trips to go around the world following these multinational companies that are located maybe in France or maybe in Germany and other places. Sodexo, which is the former Marriott company.
That's right.
And they are the catering company to the world. Well, the union from here went to the meeting in Paris and demonstrated outside of their meeting hall, the annual shareholders meeting, and protested because they said, you know what? These multinational companies in their own country pay better than in the foreign country like the United States of America. They pay $12.24 an hour in Paris, but up here they do not pay more than $10. So they were protesting that. And these protests go on in Germany, for instance, Deutsche Telekom, same thing. But this is interesting from the point of view that the unions here are now
globalizing.
They're stretching their hands around the world, and they want to be, just like the companies have gone global, some of these unions want to go global. They want to represent the entire world.
Well, here's an interesting story about how our economy is taking toll on the simplest of things, breakfast. Did you know over the last couple of years, all the fast food restaurants had been really expanding their breakfast menus. McDonald's was opening earlier. Denny's was offering all kinds of different breakfast options. Breakfast was a big-time booming business for fast food restaurants, totaling over $57 billion a year, which is substantial. And not only that, but breakfast sales were jumping as much as 64% before the recession. Well, guess what? Recession means a lot of people are either out of work, or even if they're working, they're not paying the dollars to buy breakfast at those fast food restaurants anymore. They're choosing to eat cereal or oatmeal at home. Consequently, fast food breakfast sales have tanked in the last couple of years.
I see that, when you're unemployed, you get up late, so you have to skip the breakfast.
You go straight to lunch.
It's straight to lunch. And I mean, the breakfast has suffered. Breakfast is a great business when the unemployment rate is 3%. Breakfast is a bad business when it is 9 and 10%, which is what it is now. So I can see that.
It's no accident that you're finding a lot of great deals for breakfast. In fact, I think Denny's was offering free breakfast for a while, and McDonald's has got always a great menu. So if you happen to love breakfast like me, now might be the best time actually to go out and get yourself a breakfast sandwich, because prices might go up later, but they're rock bottom right now.
Everybody's like 99 cents, I don't know if you looked at the CPAC conference last week, which is a whole lot of Republicans calling themselves conservatives, and the leader of the pack. Right? I want to tell you, they were having fun with President Obama. I mean, they used lines and sentences, the one-liners, they were hilarious. But the best one was from the former Speaker Newt Gingrich. You know what he said? That for the next 3 years, we can't all sit on the sidelines, so let's take President Obama's mantra of let's have bipartisanship on every bill. He says, I highly recommend that all Republicans should get on the bandwagon. We cannot sit on the sidelines and do this, but make sure that the laws that are passed are conservative. And I thought that was a very good offer. President Obama offered it to the Republicans. Hey, sit down on the table, let's negotiate. Senate has some very strange rules. Consequently, the gridlock has been just tremendous. Did you know, by the way, that they come to work on Tuesday and then they leave on Thursday evening? So Washington Post actually invited some former officials to say, hey, if you were to change the Senate, which, by the way, the rules are being offered to be changed, what would you change? Here is Mac McClarty, the chief of staff to President Bill Clinton. This is what he says. Some 40% of appointed positions have yet to be filled. Dozens of nominees are still waiting